Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 936 days Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Russian forces attacked the city of Kharkiv yesterday with guided aerial bombs, reports TSN UA. As a result, an apartment block was hit. It is known about at least 41 people who were injured, including 4 children. The biggest damage was caused to 2 entrances where the ceilings were damaged as well. The fire engulfed 4 top floors. At least 12 neighboring buildings were also damaged. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy gave an interview to the American journalist Farid Zakaria, reports Ukrainska Pravda. The president informed that the plan for Ukraine's victory that he intends to present to US President Joe Biden has 4 main points and 1 additional point, which quote-unquote will be needed after the war. According to Zelenskyy, these points are about security, geopolitical place for Ukraine, very strong military support, freedom to choose how to use one or another weapon, and economic support. Quote, if President Biden values and supports our plan, and if he and his team can add something which will strengthen our position, we will be ready, said the head of state. The president said that Ukraine is currently unable to equip even 4 of the 14 needed brigades due to a lack of weapons. According to him, deliveries from partners are going very slowly. Zelenskyy noted that during the 8 months pause that preceded the US Congress's decision to help Ukraine, all of the country's reserves were used up. Quote, we used all we could. We have moved what we had in reserves and what we had in storage or in reserves for brigades. We took all their weapons, unquote, said the head of state. Zelenskyy also reiterated that Ukraine still does not have permission from the US to launch long-range strikes deep into Russian territory, and now Russia has moved its planes to a greater distance. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, in the app where you are listening to this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and others. This helps more people to find out about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. The German newspaper Bild has reported that President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is prepared to propose a ceasefire to Russia in part of the war zone, reports Liga.net. The media informed that Zelenskyy is expected to travel to the United States in the coming weeks to present his strategy to President Joe Biden and presidential candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Bild claims that the strategy includes both a demand to allow Ukraine to conduct long-range strikes deep into Russia with Western-supplied weapons, and Kyiv's willingness to agree to a localized ceasefire in certain areas of the war zone, thus a temporary freeze of the hostilities. At the same time, Zelenskyy's advisor Dmytro Litvin emphasized that the report was false and that the German newspaper could not have seen the document, and of the few people currently involved in the preparation of the victory plan, none of them have spoken to Bild. Litvin stressed that Ukraine opposes any freezing of the war, and this stance is communicated by Ukrainian authorities at all levels. He added that the victory plan will be presented to the United States first because the United States can ensure the implementation of its content. Earlier, Zelenskyy stated that a frozen conflict is essentially a form of war, a slow war, a gradual occupation, or a stalemate between the parties. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.